you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited that you're here with us. And man, like I really enjoyed digging into your career as I was
Mhm.
preparing for this and just really, really love your work and admire it so, so much. It's so beautiful, so amazing. So those of you that are just tuning in and just getting here, we're having another Nude Bar sidebar combos, and this is a moment that we kind of step aside and have a sidebar about various topics. So we've had conversations about colorism and beauty and fashion. We've had conversations around sexual identity and how we show up in the world, to mental health and our physical wellness and beyond. And so we're excited to have a really good conversation today with our friend Deun about breaking creative walls and social norms. So Deun, I would love for you to tell everyone here just like all the amazing things that you do and what you're about, what inspires you, a little nugget of all the good things.
Yes, absolutely. Once again, I'm Deun Ivory, and I this question is always interesting because I'm so many different things, like so many different identities, creative talents, gifts, and things like that. But I would just say I'm a vessel for one. I am a multidisciplinary artist, and I would describe myself as a creative visionary, someone who merges art, beauty, wellness, and Black women. And I'm just here to celebrate women who look like me, to provide a mirror to us around our beauty and our magic and how incredible we are, and to remind us that, sustainable joy is a birthright. And
Mm.
healing through joy is also a birthright. And, finding new ways to use my art as a restorative form for healing through multiple mediums. So I just, I do all the things, but it's all around Black women. You know what I'm saying? Celebrating, empowering, all the things.
I love it. Yeah. And I mean, that resonates with me so much because that's really why I started Nude Bar, right? Like I wasn't finding any products that match my skin tone as I was growing up as a performer and a dancer and an artist and a lot of different things as well. And would have to dye my tights. That representation wasn't there. I'd have to pat makeup foundation on my shoes. And I just always felt that was unfair that, women, especially women of color that, are ignored a lot in so many aspects of life, but they deserved better than that. They deserved more. They deserved products that cater to them, and in a much more inclusive way. So that 1,000% resonates with me. And then also just like coming from being an artist first, I've definitely had those experiences where I didn't feel as welcome, coming into rooms, or I didn't feel that I was necessarily the ideal person
Mm.
for whatever the position was, whether it was an on-camera job or, or maybe I was like the token Black person in the commercial or whatever that is, right? And so that doesn't feel awesome. So, I'm really passionate about creating spaces that feel genuinely inclusive in a real way and just celebrating women that are of all different hues and all different colors. So yeah, so you just what you do and your work definitely really resonates with me. So just like jumping into questions and the conversation, um, was there ever times where like you identify that like, wow, I'm different from the norm in society, and that, that impacted you in terms of your relationship with your peers and your
Mm.
family, and just like, how did you navigate that? How did you navigate, growing up maybe,
Mhm.
I'm not sure how far back that goes for you, but, growing up or values and culture and religion, how did you, navigate like being different?
That is a great question. Lord, I think that prior to where I am now in my space, in the space of like self love and just finding strength in the magic of me being an anomaly in some ways, I definitely struggled with like this sense of belonging, right? Because we
Mm,
all have this desire to feel like we belong somewhere, like, ooh, you look like me, I look like you, community, family. And so when you don't grow up having that, or you feel like, you know, a thumb just randomly sticking out in the midst of everyone else, it can feel very isolating. You know, you can feel very misunderstood, you know, or like less valued, or dealing with low self-esteem. And I think that it's all about perspective, right? And I think that that's something that I have been actively reprogramming my mind around, you know, not necessarily feeling like me being different was a bad thing, right? But it's something that I can tap into that makes me a leader, right? That makes me, you know, create spaces that aren't seen, or tap into things that aren't being tapped into, because I'm on a different wavelength, or I'm finding strength in me being different than what I've been around. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so I think that, especially with joining the wellness space and, you know, becoming, when I was the art director for Black Girl in Home, I started to realize just how much strength was in my uniqueness. Like, that was my superpower. That's what I would always say.
Yeah.
Is your superpower. Back then, I used to look at it as a weakness. Now I'm like, it's the most amazing thing about me, right? Because you're not going to find it anywhere else. And I think that when you create from a place of that mindset, it just allows you to be more confident. It allows you to be more kind and loving to yourself. And I don't know, you just feel empowered all around to create the art that you want to create, and not necessarily feel disempowered. But you're like, damn, like, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? This is coming from my mind. This is coming from my vision. And, you know, not wanting to abandon that, but finding strength in it. So, like I said, it's all about perspective with me, and realizing that my superpower is in me being authentic to my joy.
Yeah, love that. Do you feel like there was a specific moment that made you feel like that power was there? Like for me, I guess, you know, one of my first customers, like my first three customers, was actually Wendy Williams, the talk show host. And that was really empowering for me because, you know, I created something that I knew my direct community, like my dance community needed, and so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth. But like when she wore it, I was like, wow, like she could have anything in the world, but she's choosing this product. And she's been a long time customer since 2012. But that was like a really big moment of like,
Yeah.
wow, this, like, even though I was one of the early movers in the category and people didn't quite understand it yet, I was like, there's something here, right? There's something that makes the brand stand out. There's something unique about this. And that like gave me more power. But was
Right.
there like a moment for you that you feel like gave you that moment of like, this is powerful for me. This is where I am.
I think that knowing that I was living in my purpose, right?
Okay.
With photography, I think that when I moved to Chicago, and I really started to get into like visual storytelling, right? Which is,
Mm-hmm.
to me, a really beautiful approach to photography. There's being a photographer, and there's being a visual storyteller. I think that once I started to dive into that, and I realized that me being able to, me doing photography was my ministry, right? It was something that was extremely intimate. It was something that allowed me to celebrate other Black women, which in turn allowed me to see the beauty of who I am, right? Because I used to struggle with low self-esteem, you know? And so when I would photograph these Black women, and, you know, I'd be celebrating them, and letting them know how beautiful they were, God was also reminding me, like, these are also the things that you have as well. You know, you're just as beautiful, you're just as magical. And so it was like a really beautiful experience, because for one, you know, it created sisterhood. It allowed other Black women to see themselves as beautiful. It allowed me to realize just how powerful my photography was, and that it wasn't just about the pretty photograph. It was about the experience of building each other up. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that knowing that, damn, like, I have something to say. What I'm doing is actually resonating and it's changing people's lives. That let me know that I should, like, this is where I'm at. This is where I should be. And not to abandon that. So I think that's when I started to tap into my power. Like, it was like through my creativity.
Love it. Awesome. Do you ever feel, or maybe in the past, have felt like a sense of shame for being different, or, you know, maybe not being socially accepted because what you were doing didn't quite fit into what was the norm?
Um, well, I will say this. You know, I dealt with sexual trauma as a child. And so, of course, when you are going through sexual trauma at that age, it can rob you of like your confidence. It can, you
Hmm.
know, you just develop social anxiety or I don't know, just certain behavior patterns that you wouldn't have experienced had you not gone through that. And so I've always known that I've been a bit like quirky or like awkward or weird or whatever due to some of the things that I had gone through because of my trauma. And I mean, I would have shame around it because I wanted to know who would I be had I not gone through that sexual trauma. You know, I'm sure
Yeah.
I wouldn't have dealt with the low self-esteem. I wouldn't have questioned myself or whatever. So I mean, of course, I had shame around it, but I got to a point where I was just like, you know, me going through the sexual trauma is not my identity. It's something that I have gone through, but it doesn't necessarily have to take over who I am as a person. And so I think that realizing that I have power over this, like my mind is a garden. I can control, you know, how I'm watering it, all the things that I'm doing, you know, to preserve my sanity, to preserve my peace. I think that's what allowed me to get over that shame. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Love that. And sorry you went through the trauma that you went through. And what I really find interesting about your work is, you know, sexual trauma isn't something that is beautiful. It's kind of dark, if you will. And but you had to merge and through your art
Yeah.
beauty into, you know, the sexual trauma. How are you able to find that creative outlet with such a topic that is a bit uncomfortable for people?
I think that I don't believe in trauma porn and I don't believe in re-triggering or making people
Yeah.
experiences, right? It's to me, healing through joy is about understanding, yes, I have gone through something very dark, you know, very twisted, very sick, very perverted. Um,
Hmm.
however, like I am I'm not subject to anything that I don't want to be subject to. You know what I'm saying? I think for me, it's all about helping Black women reclaim self-authorship, self-love, their power, you know, their sexual pleasure, like whatever it is that you were, you know, was stripped from you because you went through
Yeah.
trauma. I'm here to like help you tap back into that. And so I think that through my art, I realized that this is an opportunity for me to tell my story, for me to like rewrite my narrative. Despite be going through my sexual trauma, which was, I mean, it was a very, very dark time, and it happened a lot of times, unfortunately.
Mm.
But I don't know. I think that art is very powerful, and I do believe that it's very spiritual, it's very divine, and I don't know. I think that I'm being, what is the word? I'm fully present in what I'm creating,
Mm.
which allows me to remember that, like I said earlier, my trauma is not the sum of my identity. Like at any given time, I can be who I want to be. I can access my joy. I can access my healing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's a difficult space to be in. I mean, because who wants to hear about sexual trauma all the time? But when you're focusing on the aftermath of it, right? Like, yes, I've gone through it. Okay, but how can I move forward? How can I do this? How can I be in community? I think it can be a very beautiful and empowering experience. So it's just
Yeah.
about, it's about joy.
Yeah. Love it. When you're working with, you know, various people in your work, how do you kind of peel back the layers to pull the beauty, like to work with them without triggering them and
Mm-hmm.
to, um, you know, bring out the beautiful things that you bring out in them? Like what are some of the things that you do as a creative to make that work what it is, what it turns out to be? Or do you know if it's going to turn out to be as beautiful as it is
Um,
beforehand?
I think that like before you even get to the camera, before you even get to the photo shoot, it's all about your personhood, right?
Hmm.
People have to trust you and know that you're going to honor them and hold space for them in a very gentle, caring way. And I think that through my art, you can tell that I love what I do, that I love the women in the photograph, and that this is a very like intimate experience. And it's not about me. It's about holding space for them to show up in whatever way they see fit and whatever
Yeah.
way, you know, they interpret liberation to be. Like, I think that it's me. I'm in servant mode, right? and I think that's one of the most important things. How can I serve you, right? How can I help build you up in this moment? And I think that when you approach photography from that standpoint, you can get a lot out of people because they feel safe with you. And I've always said, even in relationships or whatever, it's important to feel both good and safe, right? I want to make you feel good about yourself, but I also want you to feel like, you can be vulnerable in this moment, because like, it's an honor to be here, to be able to do that for you. So that's one of the ways. Also, I practice a bit of mindfulness and meditation or mantra reciting when I'm doing my photographs. I'm like, what's a mantra that you want to recite as we're doing this? Because being in front of a camera, and at times I do a little modeling here and there. That girl, I mean, your insecurities start coming. Like, oh, child, how am I looking? So for me, okay, how can I ground this person? How can I help them to, remind themselves throughout this entire experience, I'm beautiful, I am worthy, I deserve this. Like, I'm all that, I'm all this in a bag of chips, like whatever it is. And so just creating this space where you're just being inundated with so much love. When we're inundated with so much love and we're just like wrapped in it, we feel our best. We feel, we feel ourselves and see ourselves in our best light. Right. So I think I just pour so much love into the experience and the person that I'm photographing.
Awesome. I just want to say to those of you that are watching, if you have any questions for Deun or I as we're having our discussion, feel free to drop them into the question box. All right. If you can see it, it has like a little question mark. But anyway, well, being kind of segueing, being a Black woman, and you talk so much about joy and being a servant in the moment as you're doing your work. Have you ever felt like anyone tried to take your creative light?
Has anyone tried to take my creative light? That's a good question. I don't think anybody was trying to. Oh, damn. Do I feel like anybody trying to take my creative light? I can't say that they have. Honestly, my photography journey has been very amazing. Like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever dealt with that. I mean, of course, not every single project I've worked on has been the best, but I don't think anyone has adamantly tried to take something from me. I think that I've been lucky and very blessed to be able to work with people who trust my creative vision. Because it's raw, it's authentic, it's organic, and it's just like you ain't gonna find this nowhere else. So just let me operate in my magic. Let me operate in my brilliance. So no, I have not dealt with that.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, as I guess from a few fronts, right? Like whether you're an artist, as like an actress or a dancer, sometimes we could even take like the piece of being a dancer, like body type, like could you lose more weight? You're curvier than the other people, because Black women, at least in the dance industry, they often get that feedback. And so that, in some ways that takes away from the light of how beautiful you might feel and what you might bring to the stage and things of that nature, or even like as a Black founder, there's sometimes people assume certain things about your brand because you are a Black founder versus a white founder, and so forth. So anyway.
I take that back because you started talking. Wait. Yes. So with my organization, the Body of Home for Love, it's dedicated to Black survivors. And sometimes, when discussing what I do and who I do it for, I think that taking my light would be telling me that I should not focus on Black women, that I should make it for everyone. And it's just like, that is annoying because the reason why this space is being cultivated is because these women's needs are not being met. And our experiences as Black women is, it's very unique. We have a different experience than every other woman. I don't care what you say. It's like, it's undeniable at this point. So I think that someone making me, I guess, feel bad for solely focusing on women who look like me, that would be an example of someone trying to take my life. But girl, I don't listen to them. I'd be like, this is what I'm called to do. And I mean, like, that's it.
Yeah, that's Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel that. Can you give advice to someone who, on just like how to build themselves up if they're in a really low point in their life, from, really any type of trauma or anything that they're dealing with? I mean, you spoke
Mhm.
about earlier having low self-esteem,
Mhm.
previously, at some point in your life. But how, what are ways that you built yourself up, and like what advice would you give to someone who needs that?
Absolutely. So I do a lot of different things. For one, I have an amazing group of friends, and like those are the people who water you. So be careful and be mindful of the people in your space who have access to you, your energy, whatever. So I have really great friends who both hold me accountable, but also who affirm me. Affirmation is so important, and validation. Everybody needs validation. I don't care what you say. We all need it, especially in this sick world. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to be reminded. And then also, I write letters to myself. And I also practice this thing, I call it like this how-to ritual where I ask myself open-ended questions. So if I'm struggling with an affirmation, instead of saying like, you know, I am beautiful. And because sometimes our brain, it can automatically, what's the word? Decline like this love offering to ourselves. So if you're like, I am beautiful, your brain can be like, girl, you don't really feel like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
instead, I start asking myself questions. I'm like, wow, what about this journey or this season that I'm in right now is allowing me to really understand how beautiful I am? It's already
Hmm.
affirming that I'm in that mindset, right? I'm just asking an open-ended question. And when I'm asking that question, there is nothing combating that, right? There's nothing like nothing is rejecting that thought. It's just me asking a question. Or like instead of saying, oh my God, I'm so happy right now. And your brain saying, are you really happy? No, you're
Hmm.
not. I say, wow, why am I surrounded by so much happiness and bliss? Once again, it's
Hmm.
reaffirming that that is my present reality. And, it's just allowing the universe or God to like bring that into my life or show me or remind me, throughout my life how that thing is true. So that's another thing that I do to affirm myself. Every single morning I wake up and I go into the mirror like Issa Rae, and I'm like, I say my little, my piece about who I am and what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's really helpful. And I read a lot of things that
Hmm.
make me feel good and that remind me that reminds me of like how powerful I am. So those are some things that I do: gratitude, affirmations, questioning,
Yeah.
writing, reading.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Yeah, I'm a big gratitude journal
All
person.
day.
Yeah, but I love that you. I'm gonna steal that, like asking yourself a question, not just I feel this way, I am
Right.
this, or but like asking, like prompting yourself to go a little deeper. I love that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna steal that. That's really good, and I love that you say your friends water you.
Yeah.
I love that as well.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. By the way, I love all the like you have so many really great quotes on your page. So
Oh,
everybody watching, like go to her page and on, all of the beautiful photography, like read the captions are really, really thoughtful, and the writing is just really beautiful. It's like
thank you.
really great poetry.
Yeah, I try to get.
That's how I read
Mhm.
it. Awesome. And like for you, as you think of, your friends that water you, where do you find that sense of community? Or are these like friends that you've just had forever, or you just gravitate to certain people? Like, how do you feel like you find those people that water you?
Ooh, that's a oof. I will say in this particular space, it's a bit more challenging to find new friends because you don't know what people's intentions are.
Right.
You don't know if they think if they want to be close to you because of what you can offer them, or if they really like you, because I deal with that a lot. I mean, but I'm a very nice person too. I'm very friendly, so I'm like, whatever. But the friends that I have in my life right now, they are friends that I've had for like a long time, friends that were here prior to me becoming whatever it is that I am now. But I've met a few people who have a very genuine spirit, and I don't play about my spirit of discernment. If
Mm.
I can clock you, you know what I'm saying? But if I feel like you're coming in and you're like being genuine about your like attraction or affinity towards me, I'm totally cool with it. And if it's organic, like I'm here for that as well. I just allow things to flow where they flow. And if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm just very watchful and like mindful around how people react towards me when I'm down versus when I'm up.
Hmm.
And if they're always asking me questions pertaining to my career instead of questions about me, uh, it's just certain red flags that you observe around people in your life. And I'm very vigilant. I'm very, like I said, very discerning. And I be watching people. So not that I'm suspicious or anything, but you just
Yeah.
kind of, I can't be
Yeah.
naive to anything. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love spirit of discernment. Yeah, I mean, I find as we get older in life, it's you're not in these silos of people. You know, you're not in school anymore. You're not in this
Hmm.
thing or this activity anymore that allows you to meet people that are like-minded. And so, yeah, you really have to like discern who is really there for you and
Yep.
who are have the right energy for watering you, if you will, which I love. Um, let's see, there's a few questions. Ooh, Sarah asks, how was it shooting Summer?
How was it shooting? Oh yeah.
And how was it shooting Issa? We'll ask both.
I mean, whew, it was such a defining moment for me because first of all, I love both of these women are like freaking amazing. Are you kidding me? Issa, I'm like, girl, like, baby, you are it, honey. And I think that it was really beautiful because my art can be, how can I explain it? My art is very distinct, right? I have a very signature aesthetic with my work. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know how it translates in like a mainstream way, but God has taught me like your gifts will make room for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that being able to use my eye to create my interpretation of what these women mean to me or how I see them as beautiful and like iconic, it's just a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Because my work is very moody, it's very ethereal, and it's like, what is my take on my perception of Issa Rae and what she's done for me in my creative career? Same with Summer Walker, obsessed with her music, like, oh my God. And so the fact that they, love my aesthetic, that they love what I do, and I was able to give them this offering of like this beautiful like visual experience. It was amazing. Yeah, I mean, I love it. So that's how that experience was for me.
Awesome. Yeah, and this next question applies to this comment I was going to make. It's like, yeah, I agree. You have such a beautiful, distinct aesthetic around your work that's like, it's very striking. It's very noticeable. So this next question is, how do you reach a level of consistency? So I read that as like, how did you get that aesthetic? Like, how and keep it consistent every single time where it's like, we can see it and we know it's your work.
Um, I think that I am very intuitive about my work, and if it doesn't feel good, I just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? And also, um, I don't know. There's something about these earth tones and like this softness and regality in my work that I'm just drawn to. So I'm consistent because it's tied to my purpose, and my purpose is consistent, right? I'm here
Mm-hmm.
to create beautiful images of Black women, to visually narrate the lives of Black womanhood. And for me, it's about understanding this like duality. Yes, we're strong, we're all these things, but I'm focusing on the softness, right, of who we
Yeah.
are, on the etherealness of who we are, the multifacetedness of who we are for every Black woman. And so because that is my purpose, I think that my aesthetic is connected to that. So that's why it's just consistent, because they're just kind of like they're married to each other. That's the best way for me to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when I edit differently because I may feel differently, but for the most part, you're gonna be consistent because I'm telling you the same story just in a different way. But it's the same purpose, it's the same message. It's just a different woman. So I think that. Thank you, girl. I appreciate that. I saw the comment below. But yeah. So that's what I do. Hey, Alex, girl, I saw your comment too, boo. Hey. But yeah, I think that consistency is in the purpose. That's what it's in. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then one more question, or no, two more, from Christian. How do you approach community with other photographers?
Ooh, you know what? That one's a bit different for me because I like I've always been like a loner, you know. I'm like the life of the party when I go out, but I'm also very to myself. And
Hmm.
so like I have other friends like Octavius, Adrian, his name is I call him Octavius, whatever. Him, Lawrence, you know, Joshua Kissy, other like photographers who are just out and about connecting with all the photographers. I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Like I love that you guys are just out here building community. And for me, it's just different. You know, girl, I just go with the flow. I just go with the I do have community though. Like I'm friends with all these people and it's just very organic. You know what I'm saying? I'm never a person that's about clout. I think everyone's doing amazing work and I just go with what feels good. And if I feel like I'm drawn to you and I want to build a relationship with you, it'll happen in its time. But I'm all about authentic relationship building because
Hmm.
people can smell that on you. And um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah.
Awesome. One last question, because I know we're running a little over time. This is a compliment and a question, but you're so inspirational, Dion. Have you thought about starting your own podcast? Miss hearing you weekly. And this is from Shimmy Shims. So maybe you know her or him or them.
Jimmy Shim, that sounds familiar. Um, yes. The people will be getting a podcast from me very soon. I'm very animated. I am very dramatic. I have all the things to say, and I'm ready. So 2022, be on the lookout because I will be gifting y'all with, you know, wellness things, you know, pleasure, body, you know, empowerment. I have a lot to say. So I appreciate you for telling me that I'm inspirational. That really means a lot. I just try to be real and, you know, as relatable as I can be. So yeah, that's coming soon.
Oh, love it. I can't wait to tune into that. Yeah. And
Thank
Shimmy Shim says, Yay! Yes, yes, yes. Lots of good comments. Love it. Awesome. So yeah, I can't wait to hear all the good stuff you have coming. That's really exciting.
you.
Um, any other questions? We're gonna hop off in a moment. I think those were the last ones. But yeah, Dion, thank you so much for joining our sidebar combos. I think like again, your work is so beautiful and it's so important. Like I love that you have the one, you have the ability and that you have the willingness in your heart to approach each project through your purpose. Like you have a reoccurring, like this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. And it what I'm taking away from what you're saying is it's not just a job for a job and a job to job, right? It's there's meaning behind all the work that you do and what you pour into it. And I think that's so important. I think a lot of times as artists, like we want that to be what we do, but we need to survive. So we just start doing things and then you kind of lose that sense of your gift and what you have to offer to the world. So I really admire that about what you do and your work. So thank you for being here and talking about it and sharing more about it. And we can't wait to hear the podcast and all
I
the
know.
other amazing things that you have coming up down the pipe.
Yes, thank you. This was so great. I love the conversation, and all you all were so sweet. I'm hoping that you know what I said resonated. Sometimes I can be real all over. You know, artists we can just be all over the place, but I'm hoping that it resonated. You were inspired. So thank you for having me. This was great.
Of course. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, have a good night and hopefully we'll get to connect at some other point.
Absolutely.
Bye.